All right. Hey, everyone. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. As you can hear my voice, it sounds like it wants to give out on me. So hopefully I can make it through the whole video without having it go out on me. But today was an interesting day. Bitcoin was trending downwards. We had a couple miners that were up in the beginning, and then things reversed a little bit for us, and we were up much higher towards the end of the day. So it was a great day for the miners, not so great for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was still down at the end of the day, and then recently, within the last couple hours, we were going back down in price. So this is kind of where we're at right now with Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, but we're going to take a look at just the charts on Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners as well, see how they did today, and then we'll also take a look at the May production updates from the miners, rate them as far as who came in number one for May, and then we'll also look at their historical averages and what they came in at on the average over the last 12 months, and who's the top ones, top five, I guess you could say. A couple of metrics that we do have there. Okay, so we'll try to get through this today relatively quickly here. But as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. And then my full disclosure is here for you guys. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out. And let's get into Bitcoin here, see what's going on with that one. So we can see Bitcoin here. We're looking at the daily here. You can see today's wick before the changeover to the new time. We can see that Bitcoin was down to 65,050, right? It's a little bit higher than where it was on Friday, which was at 65,005, which is kind of strange that that's such an accurate number if you look at it. Here, right? I can't see, but if you look up here on the low end side of things, today was exactly 65,050. Before that, on Friday, we were at 65,005. Kind of, I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. But today we came down even harder a little bit here on the new within the last couple of hours. We were down to a low of 64,555. Either the algorithms are messing with us or somebody's messing with us right now on Bitcoin. It's just strange how we're getting all these fives and, exactly 0 on the cent side of things in the last couple of days. But it's kind of what we have right now. If you look at the 1 hour chart, you can see that we had pretty sizable drop here in the last 3 hours. We kind of bounced off of it here in the last hour, which is kind of nice to see. We got about 7 minutes left on that. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody's messing with us. Somebody's trying to shake out some people out of Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, it seems like. But I'm holding on. I'm not selling anything. I don't know about you guys are. But yeah, we'll see how this continues going forward. It looks like today, it won, at least earlier today. I thought it was going to be bouncing possibly. Because it did close above the 50-day simple day moving average. We're kind of trading right around the 100-day simple moving average, and then it just fell down within the last couple hours. Like, what the heck? But that's kind of what we got. So we'll see if maybe this is the end of it here where we actually finally start bouncing up above. Okay. Now, as you can see on the miner side of things, miners had a pretty good day. Let's see here. AREN was only up 0.88%. Argo was up 0.78%. BitDigital was up nicely 7.12%. BitDeer was down 5.73%. It had a pretty nice rally here on Thursday last week, and so, as well as on Friday. But today, kind of gave up some of those gains there. Bitfarms was up nicely again, 9.41%. It's now at $3.14. It is now starting to kind of battle with. If we scroll back out a little bit here at the 0.786 Fibonacci retracement level. We'll see if it can get there and possibly blast off from there. We got Cypher was only up 1% today. Cleanspark was up nicely, 8.64% as well. CORZ was down 6.2%. It needed a little bit of a pullback. It's gone on a heck of a ride here recently. So that was kind of nice and expected, a little bit of that to happen. And my dad, I posted it to Patreon members. My dad bought another 60,000 worth of shares today. He is still full-on bull on CORZ going forward. Even though I told him maybe not put everything into it, but you know how old people are sometimes. They're a little bit more stubborn than the younger guys. They think a little bit more. But we'll see. Hopefully that all works out for him. He's been buying CORZ for over 2 years now, so he's got a large stack in there. Digihost was up also nicely today, 11.28%. DMG, same thing, 6.75%. Hive was up 11.26%. Right, remember we talked about Hive a couple of times during the videos. You guys had questions on them. And I've said before, they have great operations, great balance sheet. Everything else there is great except for the growth. It's nice to see that they are kind of getting revalued a little bit based on what they currently have, which is nice to see. Hot 8 was up today, 8.51%. IREN was up nicely as well, 9.3%. I mean, IREN, geez, that thing has had a nice rally here recently. Marathon was up only 2.82%. Mawson was up 10.12% on that one. But really no news for them other than I'm thinking maybe they have a buyout potential there, potentially. I don't know that for a fact. Let's see here. Riot was up 3.61%. Stronghold was up 4.4%, and Wolf was up 11, almost 12% on the day. So that one had a pretty good day there. And excuse me, I gotta clear my throat here a little bit. Okay. Let's see here. So that's Wolf there. WGMI was also up 5.41, and BitQ was up 2.88%. So great day for the miners here. But you guys probably already saw that anyways, but just kind of want to give my little thoughts on some of the stuff here that happened today with the miners. So let's get into the main thing that we do have here to talk about, which is going to be on the best miners in May in the last 12 months. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at the miners market cap really quick. This is as of the end of the day today, trading day. And we can see that here that Marathon still the top dog at 5.4 billion, followed by Cleanspark at 4.3 billion. Then you got Riot at 2.9, almost a 3 billion there. And then IREN has shut up nicely here in the last couple of weeks. It's now at 2 billion, right? Remember, they were like at 600 million, 500 million, something like that, just a couple of weeks ago. So they've had a nice rally here to get them in the number 4 spot here. Followed by CORZ Scientific, had a nice rally here as well. They're 1.7 billion, and then we got Cypher 1.4, almost 1.5. TeraWolf 1.4, and then we got Bitfarms at 1.3 roughly. The good thing is with Bitfarms stock going higher, that's going to make it more unattractive for Riot to buy them out because they're going to be paying way over what they originally wanted, which is a good thing. So we just need to have Bitfarms continuing to go up here. And then we got Hut 8 valued at 1.1 billion, BitDeer 1.1 billion roughly as well. And then we got the two smaller miners here, BitDigital 346 million and Hive at 288 million. BitDigital is not getting valued on their AI or really their self-mining that they have right now. And it could be because of, well, the only thing I can really think of is that they are asset light right now. I wonder if that's having an impact on the stock. But Hive doesn't have much growth, but they own all their infrastructure as well. So I'm surprised that they're not being valued a little bit, maybe higher than BitDigital potentially. They also have more hash rate than BitDigital right now. Okay. So that's the way I'm kind of seeing things here. What else do we have here? I wanted to take a look at, let's take a look at the monthly, then we'll take a look at one other thing as well really quick here, which I wanted to take a look at, which is down the list here. We're going to take a look at some market cap metrics here at the end here. But here's what we have for the May 2024 top 5 Bitcoin miners for operations. We look at month-over-month hash rate growth, BTC sold percentage, Bitcoins per exahash, month-over-month BTC mined percentage, BTC mined, days mined, current hash rate, and then HODL as well on top of it. So we got 8 metrics, and we look at the 6 metrics there without the current hash rate and the HODL, just to see how they did on operation side of things. But here's how things stack up. Month-over-month percentage hash rate growth, higher is obviously better here. Riot came in number 1. They had a nice hash rate increase. They were up 17% on hash rate, followed by Bitfarms number 2, and then Iris number 3 spot with 6.3. Cypher with 4.4% growth, and Cleanspark with 3.8. So those are like the top 5 miners there. Current hash rate, Marathon is the big one here, 28.5. Core at 20.4, Cleanspark at 17.9 exahash, Riot at 14.7, and you got Iris at 10. So those are the top 5 there for current hash rate. BTC per exahash efficiency. So we're looking at how many Bitcoins they mined and the hash rate that they had, and you get the efficiency there. For some reason, BitDeer came in at 26.63. I wonder if they're including in there the Bitcoin that they got for May. Also included some of the other business segments that they have in there for, what do they call it? I can't remember exactly what they call it, but they have the self-mining, and then they have another portion of it that's part of it roughly. I don't think that may be the reason why that came out this way. But other than that, we got Hive here, Hive 23.6, right? I've talked about Hive before. Hive is very efficient in their operations. They have great operations as well. So I'm not surprised to see them right up at the top there. TeraWolf came in at 23.24, Cleanspark 23.2, and then Iris at 22.95. So those are the top 5 for those. Month-over-month BTC mine, Marathon was down the lowest. It was down only 22% from the month prior. Mainly that is attributable to them fixing some of their issues that they had at a couple of their sites, 2 of their sites, where they had infrastructure that was down. So they got that repaired, so they were able to actually mine, because for the last 4 months they've been mining not great. You can say that. And then this month they were able to fix that, so that improved their amount of BTC that they were able to mine, which offset a lot of the losses there here. BitDeer came in at down only 30.57, which is, again, I think is including another business segment in there as well. Iris was only down 35.75. They installed a bunch here in April, and that helped them out in May. Bitfarms was only down 42%. Cleanspark was down 42% as well. You had Riot down 42.6. So, I mean, you can see how everybody's pretty close here other than that, other than these couple of three here. So that's top 5 there. BTC mined here. Marathon came in number 1 with 568, and this is just for their self-mining. I'm not including any joint ventures or anything like that for any of these guys here. Core came in at 447, Cleanspark 417, Iris 230, and Riot 215. Those are the top 5 there. Days mined. Hive mined for 31 days. BitDeer, I figured out like 30 days. Cleanspark 29.8, TeraWolf 29.55, Iris 29.18. Those are the top 5 for those. When we look at HODL, again, Marathon is the biggest here, 17,000. Hot 8 at 9.1 thousand. Riot pretty close to that as well, almost 9.1 thousand. Cleanspark at 6,154. And then Hive at 2,468. So those are the top 5 there. BTC percentage sold. Cleanspark sold the least amount. They only sold 0.5%. Riot sold only 1.4%. Hive sold 23.5%. BitDigital sold 27.3%. And Cypher sold 34.3%. So those are the top ones there. Right. We want to make sure that with HODL, it's kind of tricky. I think there's times to HODL and there's times not to HODL. Right now, being that we just got past the halving event, I think this is fine for the miners to HODL a little bit more going forward, but we don't want them to HODL too much going forward as well. Right? Eventually, we want them to start selling it because it just doesn't have the same impact as it would have had pre-halving and shortly after the halving event as well, as Bitcoin price starts to go up, right? Your X multiples or percentage gains on top of that HODL that you have there is going to be limited or less of an impact on it going forward. Okay, so based on all those, here's what we have. So this is score based on the 8 metrics for all these guys. Cleanspark came in at number 1 with 28 points, Marathon with 35 points, Iris with 42, Riot with 43, and BitDeer with 45. Those are the top 5 miners here based on the 8 metrics. You can see how everybody else has, came out. Also, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. Hut 8 has still not provided their May update, so I'm still providing basically either zeros for them. That's why they scored so high on all this stuff. Going down here, scores based on 6 metrics, does not include HODL or current hash rate. We got Cleanspark coming in number 1 again, followed by BitDeer at 27, Iris at 28, Hive at 32, and Marathon at 33. So those are the top 5 here minus for May. Right, so this is one of those metrics that you want to take a look at on all these things and combine it into this would be, I would guess, like a dot on a picture, right? You need many, many, many more dots in order to make a picture, full picture. So this is just one of those dots that we look at here to form that picture of an overall, how are the companies doing, which ones are possibly the good ones to get into and things like that. Here's the individual scores here. We'll just kind of go through this. You guys can pause. Well, you guys watching live right now won't be able to pause it, but people watching later on that are watching this, you guys can pause this and see the scores here. I'll just go through this really quick on all these. For Marathon, kind of things were kind of high, whereas the BTC per exahash efficiency, so not very efficient. Days mined was above the average as well, and that was about it. We'll just look at the ones that are above average here. Iris was only above average on Iris, Bitcoin HODL, and BTC sold. And then you got Riot here. They were above average on BTC per exahash efficiency, days mined, right? So that's not good. We want them to be lower numbers here. Then we got BitDeer. BitDeer was kind of high on current hash rate, so that's not good. BTC HODLed as well, nothing there. Number 9 spot. Hive came in high on BTC mined, current hash rate. Core, excuse me, month-over-month BTC mined, month-over-month percentage hash rate, BTC HODL, BTC sold. So came in pretty high on those. Bitfarms came in high on BTC mined and days mined. TeraWolf came in high on month-over-month hash rate, month-over-month BTC mined percentage, and then BTC HODLed as well. And you got Cypher here, came in only high on BTC per exahash efficiency, and kind of average across the board here on the other stuff. And then BitDigital came in high on, well, 1, 2, 3, 4 things here. So you can see those. And then lastly, we got Hut 8, didn't report anything, so it's nothing there. Now, so here's how the scores look on all of these guys here. That's how I graded. You guys can see that. And then when we look at the 12-month average score, so we're looking at the last 12 months, which is a combination of all these scores for each month. We can see here on the 8 metrics, Cleanspark came in the number 1 again here at 28 points, Marathon at 37, Hive with 45, Core with 46, Bitfarms with 49. So those are the top 5 here over the last 12 months. And then when we not include the HODL or the hash rate, We get Cleanspark again, number 1 here with 23, Iris with 33, Core with 34, Hive with 34, BitDigital at 35, and Bitfarms with 37, because these guys are kind of tied for the 3rd spot here. So I included Bitfarms in there for the top 5 here over the last 12 months as well. So that's kind of the way things have worked out there. Okay, so it's, like I said, nice to take a look at, see how things are progressing here over the miners. And I mean, there's a bunch of data here on these guys as far as how they scored over the last 12 months. Actually, I'm going back probably even further than that. Excuse me, on the scores here. So it's kind of good to see how they've progressed over time here. But yeah, this is always good to take a look at just on a monthly basis. We always look at the quarterly results also, see how they did for the quarterly results, which we're getting close to the end of the quarter here already, which is astonishing that we're moving that fast here. What else I want to take a look at? Oh, market cap metrics. These are latest numbers here that we do have for the miners as far as where they stand right now. If we look at the market cap per hash rate, which is the current one, this includes HODL, we can see that there's some change here. Bitfarms actually, the numbers here are where they were placed in last time we viewed this. So Bitfarms moved up here, 1 here, to number 5 spot now instead of number 4 spot. Everybody else here, and then Riot and Iris also changed out. So Iris is getting more valued per petahash here than Riot is right now. And we still have Cleanspark being relatively high here, along with HUT8. If we take out the market cap of the, let's see here, market cap future hash rate, so this includes also HODL, we can see here that Riot and Cleanspark swapped places. And then who else do we have here? Everybody else kind of went in line with the way it was. Actually, this one should change here. To 12. No, because I updated the pricing on the miners here by the end of the day. So that one is actually going to be HUT8 is now based on this the most overvalued per petahash on the current hash rate. Now, if we look at future hash rate and current hash rate without HODL, what do we got going on here? We got, looks like BitDigital and HUT8 have swapped places here. HUT8 is getting more valued on the current market cap per petahash without the HODL position. And then we had also Bitfarms here have a huge jump here from the 5 spot to now being in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spot here on it. And then we got Cypher going up as well. And then Terra, Iris, and Cleanspark are still kind of high up here as well. If we look at the market cap minus HODL for the future hash rate, we can see here that Riot went way down here from number 4 spot to number 2 spot. Bitfarms went up from number 2 spot to number 3 spot. HUT went from number 3 to number 4. Everybody else kind of basically moved up a spot at that point. So right now it looks like BitDeer, TeraWolf are way overvalued for the future hash rate. If we look at those compared to the current market cap, same with BitDigital, I guess you could say. But that's kind of easy. Let's take a look at. Based on this, I think Iris, Cleanspark, Marathon, I would say even Bitfarms and Riot are way undervalued based on the future hash rate growth, what we're seeing right now. So with that, I think there's more room to run with these guys potentially than some of these guys over here. Okay. But that's it. That's all I wanted to point out to you guys out here. So we'll call it a day here. As always, my little sales pitch for you guys. If you guys want access to all my spreadsheets, that's available through the Patreon service there. Link is in the description. $8 a month. You might be able to find a couple spots that are still at the $4 and the $5. It might say that it's sold out, that those tiers are sold out. But if you look at the numbers of members in there, if it's less than the allotment for that, you can still get into those. Okay, so there's options there to get in at lower prices if you want as well. And then if you pay for the full annual subscription, you get 10% discount on top of it. And you get access to our Discord server there. And on that one, I'm thinking about maybe doing something for the members there, where we might do a live stream on Discord just for them once a week here. But we'll see. I got to talk to everybody there, see what they think of it. Timing is not going to be perfect for everybody, so I'll see if we can figure out a good time to do it. Okay, but that is it. So let's get into a Q&A side of things here, and hopefully my voice holds out for a little bit longer. But let's get into it here. So I'll take a sip of water. Also, be patient with me when it comes to the question side of things. It's going to take a while for me to get through them all. So if you post your question in there, it's a good question. As long as it's not abusive or mean or any way, I'll definitely read it and I'll go through it. Let's see here. Okay. John asks, which seems better buy now? So CORZ, Cypher, or IREN. Wow. Okay. Both of these haven't had a huge run up. So CORZ and IREN have had a nice run up here recently. I think they're closer to being valued properly, which is nice to see because they were way undervalued, both of those guys here. Cypher is pretty well valued right now as it is right now. They are planning on swapping out some of the older machines that they have with newer generation miners, which is good to see there. They're going to be growing to, I believe, 13 exahash this year from my memory. So based on that, I don't know. I think they're pretty well valued right now. And then you had a couple question marks here, and or Bitfarms. I would say Bitfarms right now. I bought Bitfarms last week, some more as well. The dollar cost average into it. Mark says yellow into CORZ. Yeah, my dad did that today. Let's see. Okay. Brad also yellowed into CORZ. Yeah, a lot of people are getting into CORZ. I mean, CORZ is great, right? After getting out of bankruptcy and everything else, the only thing that's not really there right now is, well, not really there. They have everything in place, right? They just need to get the warrants to exercise. At that point, we're going to have some dilution there, but they're going to get the debt paid off potentially as well as some cash there. And then the CoreWeave deal that they have in place right now doesn't really go into effect until sometime mid-2025. So we won't see those revenues for another year potentially until those start coming in there. Let's see here. Thank you so much on that one. Ed, how you doing, buddy? Let's see. Seb was cheering for Bitfarms so loudly today he almost blew out his voice box. Yeah, I was happy to see Bitfarms going up nicely. No, for whatever reason, last night after I was done doing the live stream with you guys, I went to bed. I actually watched a little movie with my kids, and then went to bed. And like during the middle of the night, I woke up with whenever I swallowed, I would get not a sharp pain, but just like a light pain, like a sore throat thing in my throat, and it's just continued on ever since. Not sure what's going on there, whether it's the temperature change, it's hot as heck outside, and then go inside in the cold, drink a cold drink. I wonder if that's having an impact on it. Let's see. What is the future hash rate value? Could you please elaborate? Thanks. Future hash rate value is based on where their hash rate guidance is, or at least what they've purchased for the hash rate. So Cleanspark purchased machines to get to 50 exahash, right? They're at 17 exahash right now. Marathon has purchased machines to get to 50 exahash. Riot's purchased machines to get to 40 something, I think, or 30, 40 something. Right now, Bitfarms has purchased machines to get to 21. IREN has purchased machines to get to 30 exahash, right? So it's based on whatever they have purchased, not what they have guided towards, because guidance can be one thing, but I need concrete purchases on those in order for those to count. So I look at that, and then what is their current market cap value based on that future hash rate is growth. I hope that kind of explains it. But that's kind of what I'm looking at there. And that kind of lets me see which miners are still potentially not getting valued properly for their future hash rate growth. And we'll probably see that improve as Bitcoin price goes up in value. Let's see here. Question, do you think BitDigital is a good buy right now? Thanks. I think they're undervalued from where they should be. Let me take a look at my numbers here really quick on that one. See, no, I didn't want to do that. Oh, sorry, guys. Oh, be patient with me. I'm trying to... what did I do here? There we go. I got to fix some things around. Okay. So over here. So if I look at BitDigital here, I'll point this out to you guys on the screen as well. BitDigital right now. I have them between $4.07 to $6.10. They're at $2.86. The only thing you got to remember with them is they do have a great customer for AI, right? $50 million a year right now. They're supposed to increase that to potentially $100 million, but that hasn't happened yet. The other thing is they're asset light, so they don't own any infrastructure. Everything that they do is through a hosted provider. So that's the only thing I can really see that's kind of hurting them there. And then also, if we look at their future hash rate, they said they want to get to 6 exahash, but they haven't done anything towards that to get to 6 exahash as far as purchases or anything like that, or at least they haven't reported on any of that stuff. So for that reason, I can see where the stock is at right now, because they're not being really valued on their AI side of things because they don't have infrastructure for it. They just have a customer there, but it's still bringing a sizable amount of revenue for them. 50 million is still great, and it's like 70% profit margins on it. So I think they should be valued a little bit more. I don't know how much more. So we'll have to see how they go forward. Can they? I'd like to see them report buying machines to get to 6 exahash. I think that would be good. If they can even do higher than that, that would be even better. But they do also have a small HODL position here of 1,000. That's valued at 71 million. So, I mean, they're in a healthy position as it is. It's just they're not being valued for their operations side of things right now. Okay. Let's see here. Go back to Q&A. Let's see here. Massive volume in Bitfarms last few days. Think the institutions are getting more shares? Potentially. It could be them. It could be just regular investors as well, right? They're seeing that how undervalued they are potentially, especially with their future hash rate growth this year to 21 exahash, next year to 35 exahash sometime. We just don't know. So I don't know. We'll take a look at that. We'll probably see that delayed a little bit when we do the June numbers for them in basically 2 weeks now. We'll get the update on the institutions, how those have been buying in. Let's see. Hi, Sebastian. Is there any reason why Hive is trading so low compared to CORZ? Yes, Hive does not have a lot of hash rate growth going forward. Other than that, operations, cash flow, all that stuff is great with them. It's just the growth going forward. They're not as ambitious as some of the other miners trying to get to, be like the top 5 miners. We've seen those miners that are trying to get to that are getting more valued on future hash rate growth, operations side of things. Operations, I mean, Hive has great operations, but that's really what the reason is for it. Let's see. So assuming BTC crawls back for the next few months, do you think that our miners will continue to grow in stock price based on their incremental exahash growth? No, if Bitcoin continues to crawl back, if Bitcoin goes down or something like that for an extended period of time, the miners will come back down. Right now, I think the hype in the miners is that eventually Bitcoin will pop, and it looks like it's trying to pop potentially. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. And I've seen this before where the miners front run Bitcoin a little bit, and then we see Bitcoin pop afterwards. It might take a day or two or a week or something like that, but we do see it. Let's see here. Excuse me. Hello, Seb. Why don't you have Mara in your portfolio? Thank you for everything. Yeah, you're very welcome. The reason I don't have Marathon in my portfolio is their operations haven't been great. And that's one of the things that I've always looked at. They've also been asset light, right? So they've had a higher cost to mine. Based on that, they were paying like around 6.5 cents, 7 cents per kilowatt hour, where others were paying 4.5, 4, even less than that. So that's one reason. The other reason is just their operations haven't been great. That's basically it. Those are the two real reasons there for me. So where did you post on Patreon about your debt on CORZ? Couldn't find it. So it wasn't on Patreon. It was through the Patreon members that are on Discord. So I posted it on there. Brett, so if you're a Patreon members, see if you can sign up for Discord there. It should be free for you. Let me know if you have any issues there. I'll help you out to get in there. Let's see here. Do you think IREN can keep its bull run? What's your target price? I think right now on IREN, they're pretty close to being pretty well valued. Based on at least my sheets. I mean, I have them between $13.08 to $19.62. So they could go up a little bit more. But right now we're seeing a lot of the miners sit towards like the lower end portion of my numbers. But as Bitcoin goes up higher in value and things like that, I believe they're going to go much higher. So for this bull run, I'm conservatively thinking that they could get to like somewhere around $70, $80, somewhere around there. If Bitcoin goes up to like 180,000, okay? That's kind of what I'm looking at right now for IREN on that one. Let's see. Question: why did Bitfarms had only 21 days uptime? They had they were swapping out a lot of machines in places, so they did account for that, and they had something else. They had maintenance on, or I don't know if they were doing maintenance. I can't remember now, but they had maintenance on one of the power plants there that was giving them power. It was like 3 days or something like that. But if I remember correctly, it was something like that. Let's see. Hey, Seb, great job as always. Thank you. What name do you like better, Riot, Bitfarms, or Bitfarms? Bitfarms. Geez, I don't know. Riot Farms, I think would be better. Riot Farms. That'd be kind of cool. Riot Farms. I don't know if that's going to go through though. With the price of Bitfarms going up, it's going to make it less and less attractive for Riot to try to take them over. But yeah, I mean, if they called it Riot Farms, it'd be kind of cool. Any thoughts on CAN? Yeah, I spoke about CAN many times. CAN has not performed as well as Bitcoin has in the last, if you look at just the last year to date, or the last year, or even I think the last 2 years. If you look at it, Bitcoin's up like 160 some percent, and CAN is down like 50 some percent. in that same time span. So it has completely decoupled from Bitcoin as far as I can see when it comes to price action on that one. For that reason, personally, I would stay away from it. But you never know. They could surprise us with a brand new machine that's going to be the world's most efficient and things like that. And they could get a lot of the market cap that way. So there's always that. Let's see. Hey, Sebastian, feeling pretty stupid going 50-50 into altcoins and miners, down big on alts, which pretty much wiped out all my miner gains. About to swap all alts for miners, just frustrated. Yeah, I learned my lesson last cycle and the previous cycle as well on altcoins. This cycle, I do, as you guys know, I do own some altcoins, but I'm going to be getting rid of those as soon as I can on those, and I'm done with them. The only thing I'm going to be holding is Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. Let's see. Mark says to hold. Yeah, I mean, if you can hold out, eventually when Bitcoin starts ripping, those altcoins will probably start ripping as well a little bit there. So that could be a way to do it. You just got to have the patience, I think, sometimes with all these things. What's your target price on IREN? Do you think it's time for a pullback? I talked about that here a little bit. I think, geez, did I answer your question already? Yeah, so I already answered your question here just a second ago. Let's see here. Ed says, Yolan Wolf, Bitfarms, and Riot. I will either get rich or go bankrupt. I don't think you go bankrupt, but I don't think you can do bad with those three there, Wolf, Bitfarms, or Riot. Riot just needs to fix their operations and get their hash rate installed, and they'll be in a much better place than they are right now. Hi, Seb. Why Riot and Mara are flattening recently? Thanks. Riot needs to prove themselves. It needs to prove to the investors their operations are going to be much better. Their options are going to be much better. So that's potentially why. And then Marathon, I don't know. I mean, I think it was the last couple of days that their Mara pool hash rate or their blocks mined was pretty low. So I don't know what's going on there. But that might be a part of it here as well. Let's see. What's your price target for Bitfarms? Appreciate all you do. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. For Bitfarms, I would say I'm thinking somewhere between $15 and $25. We could get to $30 depending on how well they can build out and all that stuff there on it. But Bitcoin going to like 180,000, somewhere around there. Hi, Seb. Good evening to you. Thanks for always being consistent. Yeah, you're very welcome, and thanks for coming in. Question: thoughts going forward for IREN? I want to lock in profit also in the bear market. What miners would be the best short? Thanks. All miners at that point. I mean, I think maybe the miners that don't have HPC AI business, right? Those might be less of a short than ones that don't. If Bitcoin goes down, the miners are going to go down even worse. So you could possibly short all those. As far as going forward for IREN, I mean, depending on your profits that you have in IREN, it's never a bad thing to lock in some profits. But I think we're still very early on, especially where Bitcoin's possibly going to go this time around. So I think we still have much, much more upside potential than we do have downside potential, I think, at least in the next 6 to 12 months, possibly to 18 months. But we'll see on that one. Let's see. Seb, take it easy, man. We won't blame you for ending the stream early. You've answered half the questions on here with your previous videos and more people joining. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, as long as my voice is okay, it's not great, but it's okay. I'll continue on, so I appreciate that. Let's see. Seb, what's your current undervalued top three now? Right now, oh gosh, I would say Bitfarms in there, and then everybody else is starting to look a little bit more fairly valued right now, for me at least. Here, let's just take a quick gander on some of these guys here. We'll do that. Let me pull this up. BitTier, I think, is undervalued from where they possibly might be, but that one's a tough one, tough nut to crack. BitDigital, same thing. I think that one's kind of undervalued, but not a lot of growth there, right? Bitfarms, like I said, is still undervalued from where they really should be. Cypher looks getting close to being fairly valued there. I'm in between 535 and 802. Cleanspark is definitely fairly valued right now. CORZ Scientific is, I think, if we include the dilution in here, I think they're getting close to being fairly valued. Hive is undervalued from where they probably should be, or actually they're getting kind of close here. Hut 8, I don't have a lot of great data on them after they merged with the company. So a lot of the data that I have is kind of recent here. I think based on what I'm seeing here, at least I wouldn't even go by this. So Hut 8 is right now a mess with my data because after the merger, IREN is close to be, well, I think it's pretty fair valued right now. Maybe on the low side a little bit here. Marathon, pretty fairly valued as well. Riot, pretty fairly valued as well. TerraWolf, let's take a look at that one, pretty fairly valued as well. And that one, that's it. I mean, so a lot of these guys are getting pretty fairly valued. But if you look at companies that are going forward, I would say like Bitfarms, which I mentioned, obviously, Cleanspark, IREN, right? Great operations, great growth going forward. Riot, also you can put in there if they can fix their operational issues, increase their hash rate, and same thing for Marathon there. Huge growth going forward. So those are the ones that I'm kind of looking into there. And CORZ as well. CORZ has huge potential going forward with the AI side of things of the business going forward. Let's see. I got 15,000 to spend. I'm having Wolf up like 120%. I own Cleanspark. What should I put that 15K? I will look into IREN, Bitfarms, and CORZ as well. Those are the ones I would look at least right now. Those are the ones that I think might have a little bit more upside than like Riot or Marathon, potentially. But you got to do your due diligence, and you got to do what's best for you. Let's see. Next question. How do you dollar cost averaging out? Let's take this example. You bought 10,000 shares of Bitfarms at 3 and you peak your target at 20. How do you take profit on the way to the target? Thanks. So probably when I start getting like above $10 at that point, depending where Bitcoin's at. Bitcoin's like at 125,000. I might take a little bit off, like 5% or something like that. Bitcoin goes up to, let's just say 135,000, right? I'll take off another like 5 to 10%. Bitcoin goes up, and I'll try to do that. I'm not going to be able to time the market perfectly. So what might happen is I might actually buy or sell some at the peak, and I'll actually maybe sell some on the way down as well, right? But I'm going to be averaging out of that way as well. Kind of like the same thing that I did with dollar cost averaging in. I was buying at a higher price, but I also bought in at a much lower price at that point, and still continued to buy in after they kind of bottomed out. Let's see. Question, what chart indicators do you like to use? I like to use the one that Plan B provides, the stock to flow. I like to use also the power law metric, or the power law there. On the chart indicators for the miners themselves, I just like to look at what's the volume really, what's the 100-day moving average, simple day moving average, 50-day, and then the 200 as well, see what's going on there. And I'll maybe use like some Fibonacci retracement to levels to see where things might possibly come down on them. But I don't trade them. I just dollar cost average into them. So you might have better answers from somebody else that actually trades daily on those. Let's see. With Riot now being undervalued compared to the top, the major miners, do you think it's due for a pop-up? I do think so. I think it just needs to get the operations. We need to see operations improvement in uptime, and their hash rate growth continued steadily to get to 31 exahash by the end of the year. They're at 14 exahash now, so that's still quite a bit of growth. That's 16.5 exahash growth left. So they need to install quite a bit here this year. Seb, thanks for your time to teach us. Yeah, you're very welcome. Question, if you had to go all in on one miner, which one would it be and why? If we're looking at right now, oh gosh. I would say probably if I had to go in at one, I would never do that because I think diversification is good here because you just never know with any of those miners. So I would say right now, if I just had to go with one, that would be probably Bitfarms right now. And that's because it's just way undervalued from where it should be. But there's a lot of FUD around it. That's why. Right. So let me see. So a good example of why you want diversification going forward is I was getting into Cleanspark quite heavily in 2022 and in 2023 as well, along with Bitfarms. Not as much or not as heavily as Cleanspark with Bitfarms. But then I started getting more into IREN as well, right? So I was getting diversified there, try to get another third one in there. And then had I diversified equally between Bitfarms and IREN in the last 8 to 10 months, I would have had a much better position in IREN, right? Because you just never know when they come out and say, hey, we're increasing our hash rate, by 50%, 100%, whatever it might be. So that's kind of why I think diversification is good in this space, because one can surprise you, right? If you're in one, you're kind of at the mercy of that one, right? What happens if their operations have issues, whatever it might be? You're at the mercy of that one then. Let's see here. Did you watch the Riot CEO on McNally Money? Your thoughts on it if you watched it? Yeah, I did watch it. I watched it on my lunch break today. It was actually a really good interview with Jason Less. I did like the fact that they asked him about Bitfarms, what's the reason for getting it, and that's kind of the reason I thought so, right? Diversification for him was to get in with Bitfarms. They didn't go into as far as the pricing, what they would possibly bid it up to, or if they're going to continue to accumulate shares there. But overall, I thought it was good, right? They know that their operations have sucked here in the last 18 months or so. So they know they need to prove that. They know that they need to build out the hash rate, and it looks like they have that in place right now. So I thought it was a great interview on that one. Let's see. Hi, Seb. What ETFs are you holding in your portfolio? I have BitQ and WGMI right now. So it's not my portfolio, like the one that I have, the personal one. It's in my retirement account. So my 401k profit sharing plan. That's where I have those. Let's see. What would you say to someone just getting started into investing in the BTC miners, like my friends? Is it too late for him? I feel bad telling him to buy when I bought IREN at sub 5 Cleanspark at under 6. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? He's possibly going to get the same gains that you will, right, going forward, as if you continue to hold on to it and possibly get closer to the top and sell at that point. But I think it's still, I mean, we're still looking at potentially, I still think at least a 5x with a lot of these guys here, if not more, depending where Bitcoin goes. So I don't think it's, bad to tell your friend, hey, these are the risks. Bitcoin could go down, the miners could go down, but you got to give them the pluses and the minuses as well. The miners are very volatile when it comes to Bitcoin. So he's got to know that. He's got to be patient, and he's got to be willing to dollar cost average in, because we might have, a pullback here. We just don't know. So he could buy right now, and we could see still a 20% drop in some of these guys here. So I'll let them know about that. Let's see. What's your price target for Wolf if Bitcoin crosses? Where's Wolf right now? Let me see here. Wolf right now is at $4.39. So Bitcoin would be roughly, excuse me. That would be almost a 2x for Bitcoin. I think they could go 3 to 4x at that point. So wherever they are, so 3 would be a 12, like a 12 to maybe $15 or something like that, if that works out that way. See, if Riot's operations in the new facility are sorted and good, then can it outperform other miners? It's possible, right? As long as investors see that and they buy into it, right? Well, depending good. What do you mean good? Are they going to be improved by 50%, or are they going to be improved by 100% improvement in the operation? So that's also dependent on that. But I think that would help. When do you think the bull run will end? Oh, geez, that's a good question. I have really no idea when the bull run's going to end. This cycle, if you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I've been saying it's a different cycle this time around. I don't know if it's going to be the same like we had prior, where we, have basically 12 to maybe 18 months of a bull run, and then we go into a bear market. I just don't know if that's the case. And the reason for that is we've had a new all-time high before the halving event. That's never happened before. We got a lot more institutions getting involved. We got banks, we got ETFs, we got all this stuff happening here. So could it be where we saw with gold similar to that, right? Where the gold ETFs turned the gold bull run into like a 5-year or 6-year run at that point. And they didn't have a bear market really. I mean, they had some dips in between, but it wasn't anywhere like we've seen before with Bitcoin was down 80%. So what if we have like 20% dips in Bitcoin for, a short period of time, a couple months or something like that, and we go much higher again? I don't know. That's one of the things that I'm going to be trying to figure out the most here in the next 12 to 18 months is this completely a different cycle, or are we going to have a repeat of the previous bull and bear markets? Okay, Gary Pallet. Marathon has only mined 6 blocks in the last 3 days. Do you think they are curtailing because of their extremely high cost of coin? Strange fixing miners and not using them. Yeah, that's a tough one there, because they're also located in like Texas, where it's probably hot as heck out there right now. Maybe that's the reason for it. I don't know if I'm not certain if they're getting like curtailment credits or things like that for curtailing power, but they also have operations where they have with other facilities that they don't own. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. If they only mine 6 blocks in 3 days, that is low for them. They should be mining much, much more based on the 28, 29 exahash that they have installed. Isolation, do you have a chance to look at, so similar, you're talking about similar medical or similar, what is that? They're implementing a Bitcoin strategy like MicroStrategy, but their core business seems to be undervalued. Seems to be a good play. Good morning from Ukraine. Good morning to you. Hope you're safe over there in Ukraine. I know what's going on there, so hopefully you're staying safe. I don't know. Similar has reported they're going to be implementing a strategy similar to MicroStrategy for their assets, or not assets, for their, what is it? What do they call that? But I don't know if they're undervalued based on their operations. It's kind of hard to tell. The great thing with the miners, we get updates every month on them, how they're producing and everything else, so we can kind of see how they're doing. With a lot of the public companies, we only get quarterly results, and then you try to figure out, are they selling more, are they selling less? And it's a lot of guesstimates there. So I don't know, but it's nice that they're doing it. I think it's a good play. We're seeing more and more companies do that as well. But recently, you've seen also MicroStrategy has kind of underperformed the miners, maybe from where they were. Let's see, where was MicroStrategy today? MicroStrategy was up just slightly today, 0.78%, whereas some of the miners we had were up 10%, 11%. Right, so sometimes we've seen MicroStrategy outrun Bitcoin, and then it pulls back, and then it kind of goes back to being like a 2x on Bitcoin in general, on average, if you look at it over time. So, let's see. Could the recent pop in miner prices be shorts covering their position, getting ready for the bull run? Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before. I've seen this before, where the miners start front running Bitcoin. Price actually, when Bitcoin's going down, they go up, and it's kind of like, okay. Then we see Bitcoin start going up in a couple of days or a week or something like that. So it is possible. Let's see. Thoughts on any miner? Gosh, I do cover them on the smaller miner side of things. They're a gamble right now if you invest in them. I believe they don't have any assets other than the miners themselves. They host everything. So what are you really getting there? And they haven't really grown that much other than what they said they were going to get to. But not even that. They gotta slow down. They said that they're going to get to like 1.8 exahash. This was going back like 2 years or something like that. They only got to 1.4. They're now down to 1.2. So are they selling miners there? Potentially. That's kind of what I'm seeing there with them. So buyer beware there. Let's see. Ed says, so this is going back to McNally Money in the channel. Yeah, I watched the interview. I wish they had asked more questions about Bitfarms acquisition. I'm sure they probably wanted to, but they couldn't at that point, because a lot of stuff you can't discuss anyways because it's not public information, and they probably don't want to say that anyway. So there's always a limit to what you can find out from the CEOs of these companies when you do these interviews. You only can find out what's ever public already, so you're not going to find anything new there. Let's see, what are the major differences between Bitfarms and IREN if they are both mainly aggressive exahash growth plays? Bitfarms hodls a little bit. IREN does not hodl right now, which is fine. That's not a big deal. But major differences now is that IREN is getting to 30 exahash, whereas before they were getting to 20 exahash, and Bitfarms is going to get to 21 exahash. So that's the main difference there. Is just the hash rate growth right now is increased for IREN. But now we can Bitfarms come out. They're going to be possibly getting to 35 exahash next year. So they're right. I like the fact that Bitfarms is fighting for that, like that, to be in the top 5 miners here. So that's great to see them, along with IREN, and I own both of them. So I'm happy that they're doing it. What are your thoughts on the comment in financial analysts that miners do not produce profits for shareholders, no dividends, constant dilution, unsustainable business model? I think at a certain point, once they reach scale, and I think that's the big thing for scale, right? They will turn profits. I don't think you're going to have dividends on that unless Bitcoin gets to like maybe 1 million at that point, and it stays pretty consistent, right? We don't have these bull runs and bear runs at them anymore. It becomes more consistent over time. At that point, maybe we'll get some dividends, but I don't really care about dividends anyways. I just want growth right now. We're in a growth phase. Who cares about dividends? I want them to grow. And I don't think they're unsustainable business models. Eventually, we'll also get more Bitcoin transaction fees being added to it. We're seeing it already now. But over time, as time progresses, things will possibly get better for them. But even the ones that are growing now nicely that have reached certain scale are doing much better than they have if they didn't reach that scale. So scale is important here. What are Wolf's growth plans? I believe, geez, where's Wolf trying to get to? TeraWolf, I have them currently at 8 exahash. This includes their joint venture that they're in and part of, and their future hash was supposed to get to 10 currently. But they said they want to grow more than that. Once they report that they bought miners, I'll include that in here. But right now, this is kind of what I have them at right now. Let's see. I said, could you please look at IREN's technicals and identify a re-entry range? Not visualize technicals. Gosh, re-entry range? I have no idea where that's going to be. We can take a look at the chart here. Technicals. So I'm not a TA guy here, guys. I can tell you that honestly right now. But if we look at IREN has had a huge run up here, right? We've seen this with Cleanspark as well. It reached a high of 1495 here. When was this? On Thursday, right? So that is a high. Let me see if this is going all the way back. Let's see. When they went public, they got at what, 28.25. But they were a much different miner at that point, much smaller. They were still growing. All that stuff was happening. They got in basically at the peak of the bull market in 2021 with the IPO. So we really can't use that number there. I think right now we are in price discovery for them based on where they are, based on their future growth and everything else. So it's hard to say. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Yeah, I mean, we're way past the Fibonacci true retracement levels here. We're at 1.68 on it. Let's see, where's our next potential at $20.35. So we could be bouncing around here and then possibly go up. That's if Bitcoin goes up as well, right? So hard to tell. But I think going forward, I think there's still a potential to 5x on them potentially, or close to 5x going forward on them. Let's see. Okay. See, also I hold Cleanspark, Bitfarms, IREN, MicroStrategy. Better to keep DCAing more into these or add more miners like Wolf, not financial-wise. Cleanspark, Bitfarms, IREN. I mean, those are great. I own all three of those. I don't own Masters, MicroStrategy right now. Never really did. Yeah, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, you can buy more into Wolf. I like the growth that Cleanspark has, Bitfarms, IREN, Wolf. I'd like to see more growth. They still need to pay down the debt that they have there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for the top three, or the three there at least. I would say the top, but three. Let's see, if Riot and other companies are buying 14% of each, that would not trigger poison pill and can go for hostile takeover if they join forces. Oh, if they join forces, yeah, they could possibly do that potentially. I heard something actually interesting. Today I joined a space. I just listened to Mike Alfred space today, and he said something about that he heard that Cleanspark was in the mix as well as trying to maybe put a bid offer on Bitfarms. That was kind of interesting, but he didn't say what the pricing or where that is right now. Let's see here. Ed, I'm new to this game. What miners were in business last cycle? Any of them have disappeared this cycle? They haven't disappeared, but they have definitely shrunken. So last cycle we had Argo, Bitfarms. We had, Bitir wasn't public yet at that time. Who else do we have? Bitdigital, I think, was around at that point, I believe. Yeah, they were mining in China, I believe, before then. So Bitdigital was around. Then we had Hive, Hot 8. Cleanspark came on the scene in 2021, right? So they weren't really part of that full run there. Cleanspark, Marathon, Riot was there. We had Mawson in there. Gosh, who else do we have in there? Sphere was not in there at that point. There were quite a few other miners. Some of the ones that have downsized, like was Mawson. Mawson had huge growth plans going forward. And they took on debt. They got in trouble for that. They sold facilities to Cleanspark. We had Argo, right? Argo, same thing. The huge growth potential with Helios facility in Texas. They sold that to Galaxy Digital. So it's been definitely a violent time for a lot of these guys here that made some bad bets, I guess you could say. Let's see. Michael says, Bitcoin's selling off hard, which can't beat the American dollar. Let's see here. Is Bitcoin selling hard right now? Where are we at here? Actually, it's kind of bouncing back a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it was selling hard earlier, but it's kind of bouncing back a little bit. Let's see. Can facilities built for BTC mining be converted into HPC and vice versa? Aside from switching ASICs, is there more major differences in the infrastructure setup? Yeah, there is. So, gosh, we could go into a detail on that. If you're looking at HPCs, AI, right, you're looking at servers, you got a lot more demand, or I wouldn't say demand, infrastructure demand, I guess there. So if you're looking for inference meaning that you can't shut down. If you can't shut down, you're looking at like a tier 3, tier 4 data center at that point, which those estimates are somewhere around like $7 to $11 million per megawatt. Whereas the miners that they're building out right now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe IREN's like at 750,000 per megawatt, right? They're doing kind of like a dual purpose building there where they could have HPC, but they wouldn't have the inference there. So meaning all 100% uptime or close to 100% uptime. So it wouldn't be a tier 3, it'd be like a tier 1 data center. And then you have companies that have the regular data centers for Bitcoin mining, like CORZ. CORZ got a customer CoreWeave, which is going to be paying them $300 million to upgrade their facilities to be tier 3 data centers, meaning that those tier 3 data centers are going to have redundant backup, redundant electricity, redundant internet, redundant cooling, so that those machines, those HPC AI servers clusters, can operate basically 99.99% uptime because they need the inference. They can't be shut down. So you do have some companies like IREN, which is building out those dual purpose ones, but they're looking for customers that only like need small, no, I'm gonna say small, not a long-term deal right now where they can get customers for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. And they don't mind if they have to shut down. So they're looking at doing things like large language models at that point, where you can learn those or you can train those models, but you can also shut down if need be, right? It's not a big deal. So yeah, there is a huge difference between, depending on the setups and the dynamics of the customer, what they really need. Ideally, if you're doing a large scale AI stuff to play on it, you're going to want 99.99% uptime because eventually you want to put that, whatever you learn from those models, you want to put that to the customers, and the customers are going to be all over the world potentially. So you need people to be able to access those as well. That's my understanding of it. Let's see. Michael says CORZ started the correction today. CORZ has been way up here. A little correction isn't that bad, right? We need a little bit of a breather. Let's see. Okay. Michael says Bitcoin down 738, been getting stronger. Yeah, a little bit pullback. I think he's just trying to shake out some people out of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners potentially. I said, where do you see more on price end of 2024 if Bitcoin reaches $120,000? No, excuse me. Sorry, I had to burp. At 120,000, that's roughly 2x from where we are right now, right? So you could say that Marathon could be up like 3 to 5x potentially. And that's kind of what the miners usually do. Bitcoin goes up 2x. The miners will do like 3x of that, so like 6x roughly on average. I go a little bit conservative. I say 3 to 5x. Let's see. Do you think these smaller miners started going up because they're selling their Bitcoin and miners like Riot are still holding? No, I don't think it's because of that. I think sometimes we have a rotation in the miners. Right, some of these smaller miners also don't have a lot of shares, so it's easier to manipulate there, which we've seen before. We saw Mawson being up, like, was it Mawson? I think it was Mawson. Mawson or Stronghold, I can't remember. But early in the year, we saw one of those two guys being up like 700% for the year with really no reason for it other than having not a lot of shares. Easy to manipulate. Let's see. Also, can you talk about the economics of running data centers for BTC mining versus AI research? It seems CORZ and BitDigital earn significantly more through AI contracts than mining. Yes, there is an advantage to a certain point where Bitcoin needs to be above a certain price in order to make those economics switch. But usually when you're talking about data centers, you're getting more revenue for that usually. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it works out. Based on the overall landscape. And like if you look at Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, all that stuff, right? If you look at all those, how much they're charging, it's a lot more. The other thing is you can also get a little bit more based on if you do shorter term contracts. So we're kind of seeing with IREN. But the reason for that is if it's managed, they're going to be paying more for it. But if it's just hosting, you're also going to be getting more than what you are with mining right now. And I think, what was it? Sam said from BitDigital that it's like you need Bitcoin to be 100,000 right now in order to be the same profit margins as with the AI right now. Right. So right now we're past the halving event in Bitcoin miners. It's going to take a while for it to get to 100,000, a couple of months potentially to get there. But it will get there to where the point where Bitcoin mining is more profitable than AI is. But the good thing with AI, if you get a long-term contract, you have that set for a number of years. So you have that steady revenue stream happening in there as well. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, like I said, there's a lot that goes into it, depending if they want it to be managed or unmanaged, if they're doing the managing themselves, the customer. So it's basically like hosting. But they're paying basically for you to make sure that you have 99.9999% uptime, basically, at that point. Let's see here. Matthew says, I'm heading to Mara also with exposure to Cleanspark and IREN. Would you cut bait with Mara at this point and increase the others? Depending on how heavy you are. Right. I did that with Cleanspark. I was heavy into Cleanspark, and I saw where IREN looked like it was more undervalued than Cleanspark was based on their growth potential. So I took out whatever the cost was, my cost basis into Cleanspark, cut that out, and then put it into IREN at that point. Right now, IREN's had a huge run up here. I'm already up 100 some odd percent on IREN as it is. I'm up 400% on Cleanspark. So at those points, I see that it makes sense. But if you have a really low cost basis on Marathon, I don't know if it makes sense. You have to kind of think about it where everybody is at right now, Marathon, Cleanspark, IREN. Right, I think they all have like a 5x possible right now, going forward, depending where Bitcoin goes, and it'll also depend on how well they can build out. So, I mean, if you have faith in Marathon that it can build out, maybe it's not such a great plan to sell Marathon, or a portion of it at least, and then get into some of the other miners. But if you don't believe it, well, then maybe that does make sense, right? It's one of those things where you have to evaluate what has their past performance been like, what is their current track record like, how is their operations, how is their uptime, and all those things that they got going on. So it's not that easy. Let's see. Hi, so what's causing Bitfarms to increase in stock price? Has this still got more time to increase before a decision is made regarding the poison pill? Yeah, we don't know. Depending if Riot buys, another 1% of the company, I think that might trigger it. So we'll see on that one. But that's kind of what's running it up right now. I think the simple fact that Riot came out and they wanted to buy the company for $2.35 kind of put in a floor as far as where the price could possibly be at. And then people are witnessing, okay, well, if Riot wants to buy them out, maybe there's not that much FUD in Paraguay, right, where we've been talking about that, where they're talking about Bitcoin mining, things and like that. So Paraguay FUD is done and over with. I think that's been basically debunked. Now it's just Riot trying to buy them out, and if they can get a new CEO there. So I do think there's plenty more room to run up in Bitfarms. I'm all in. Mara, your thoughts? Well, you guys know my thoughts on Marathon. Marathon is the biggest company that is out there right now. I don't like their operations. I didn't like that they were asset light before. I didn't like that they huddled through 2022, everything, right? They dilute shareholders to do it in that time as well. I didn't like it when Hot 8 also did it. So there are a couple of things that I didn't like about them. But they are the biggest here. They did that by being asset light in the beginning. They are switching their tune here a little bit now. They're getting more into a mixed version of that. So I think it's their race to lose right now for Marathon. But they need to provide good growth going forward, right? About 20 exahash roughly to get installed this year still. And I would like to see their uptime be much better than what it is right now. Their operations haven't been great. What's your target for Riot? If Bit hits 145,000, can it touch previous all-time high of 80? At that point, I wouldn't say. Maybe. If it gets to 150,000, I think it might be close. That'd be an 8x. I would say closer probably to $50 at that point, $50 to $60. So it would be close. I think we can get to like 180,000 Bitcoin. I think at that point, it might be able to reach the previous all-time high, maybe surpass it even. Let's see. Could you look more into Cypher, how it's valued now? Also, how's their management and future expansion and growth plans? Their future expansion is good. They have the Black Pearl site. They're going to be building that out they're building it out now, but they're not going to be installing possibly until 2025. So they have good growth plans going forward. Cheap electricity, 2.7 cents per kilowatt hour, right? Management is great there. They've had I was going to say Bitfarms, Bitfury overhang with them, where Bitfury had like 75% of the shares of the company. Bitfury has not dissolved. They've distributed those shares to Bitfury holders, so that's better. They've been selling here recently, which has been good. So there's good and there's bad. I think a lot of the bad has been kind of worked out. There's more good to come for them, but I wish I would see more growth for them this year. They're supposed to get to, I think, 13 exahash this year, right? We're seeing companies getting to 20 exahash this year, 30, 40, even, well, not 30. Well, Marathon's the only one that's supposed to get to 50 exahash. Everybody else is supposed to get to like 30, 31, 32, somewhere around there. So that's kind of the way I look at them. Let's see. Is IREN going to 5x from today's price? Yeah, I believe so. I still believe that is in the cards. It's possible, but we need Bitcoin to be like 150, 180,000. Let's see. Is Bitfarms still undervalued? Can it go to 20 starting 2025? Potentially, yeah. Bitcoin goes to 150,000, 180,000. I think you could do that. Do you know what other miners Mike Alfred has invested in IREN Cypher only? No, he's also in Bitfarms. He has shares in Bitfarms. He has, I believe, shares in Cleanspark as well. I think he has some in Marathon also, and possibly Riot. I mean, he's pretty well diversified there, I think. Let's see. IREN is too much buy at RSI. So do you think the price returned to $9 to $10 for a short term? Remember, the RSI can sometimes run a little bit hot for a while here. If we look at IREN here really quick, RSI is pretty hot, and it's been running hot for a while now. It's at 83 roughly on the RSI. So it might trade sideways for a little bit while the RSI goes down and then possibly go back up. We don't know, right? But it could pull back down also just to have the RSI drop down a little bit. It has had a huge run up here. If we look at from here to the top here where we are right now, we're up 211% roughly. So a little bit of a pullback would be kind of good, I think. But if we look at, let's see, let's look at the 1 hour chart, or actually the 4 hour chart. I like to look at that. That's kind of high as well. Weekly is definitely up there as well. We probably need a little bit of a pullback to bring that down into reality a little bit. So that might happen. Let's see. Okay, go back over here. Let's see. Do you think miners will follow a similar cycle of 48x price growth, then dumping 80-90% of bit? I talked about that earlier in the video. I don't know. It seems like it's a different cycle this time around. A lot more adoption by institutions, investors, all that stuff as well. I don't know. I would like to be. Let me rephrase it. I would like it to be another bear and bull cycle again, right? So we can kind of rinse and repeat this process and become much, much wealthier in the next, basically, another 4 to 6 years or so. But I just don't know. Let's see. Riot just released its numbers. What is Riot's real exahash? I feel deployed hash rate does not matter if the operating hash rate is 8 exahash, and when you factor in curtailment, that number is maybe 6. Well, yeah, I mean, I think they're 14.5 or something like that. Let me see here, Riot, really quick. What they reported at the end of May, this is this screen here. They reported, let's see, where is it? 14.7 exahash, but they were operating at only like 8 exahash, right? So that's partially due to curtailment, and then also installing miners. So you're not going to have like the full 14.7 exahash uptime at that point. You need another full month of that in order for that to increase. So yeah, they do need to get that improved. Let's see. Any news on Riot? On Riot's voting? Looks like it's been 5 to 6 days and no news yet. No, I haven't seen anything yet on it. They're going to downplay Bitfarms when they don't hit their growth target at the end of the month. Like you do the rest of the miners that haven't given outlandish growth targets they can't reach. Let me see. Are you going to downplay the Bitfarms? And I said before, it's Bitfarms and anybody. If they get close to at least 12, right? They're supposed to be at what 9.5 right now installed. They're waiting to get that energized. We'll see if that happens within the next 2 weeks. But they wouldn't be the first ones to miss it, not the last ones either. There's a lot of things that are involved there. You need to have connections, hookups from the electricity providers, all that stuff. So there's a lot of things that get involved. If they get close to it, I'll be happy. If even if they get to like 10 or something like that, I'd still be happy at that point. But we know that's coming down the line. Same thing with the other guys. They just need to install more hash rate, right? Everybody does. The good thing is with Bitfarms, they have the infrastructure, not the infrastructure, but the land and the sites to do that. My concern is with Cleanspark. Cleanspark needs to buy land, sites, and infrastructure and build that out still. So they have like double the work that they need to do here. So I'm a little bit more concerned on Cleanspark right now than I am with Bitfarms. See, so main difference is AI needs tier 3 and BTC is all okay with. BTC doesn't need tier anything. It's like a tier 0. They just need electricity and internet connection. That's all. Basically, additional redundancies that need to be built in. Any idea how big the cost difference, like 2 to 3x for tier 3? Yeah, so I've heard estimates that tier 3 data centers, you're looking at like 7 million per megawatts, whereas the miners that they're building out their infrastructure, we have some that are as low as 250,000 per megawatt, right? Like Hut 8 that's been building out these little container out in the facilities. And then we got some that are building out around 350,000 per megawatt, some at 450 or so, and then we got IREN like at 750,000. So it's all over the board there, but yeah, it's definitely a lot more expensive. Excuse me. They said, where is the source for the HPC availability information you are talking about earlier, 99.99% availability? That is based on general standard practices in data centers. So if you look at, search on Google for data centers tiering or something like that, or tiers for data centers. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And it's based on the uptime, the redundancies, and all that stuff in there. So that's kind of where you see that. And you see that with specifically with data centers that require applications that are up all the time, or if you have users using it, right? So if you wouldn't want like YouTube here or Google or Microsoft, whatever source is using with those guys, to be only up, 80% of the time, right? That would drive you mad. You go online, it's not available right now. We're curtailing, right? That wouldn't work. So you need those places need those types of uptime guarantees or close to that at least on it. Let's see. I was looking at all the miners' charts last cycle, and apparently they had a huge dip 5 months after the halving. Do you think the history will repeat itself this time? Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get a huge run up all the time, right? We've seen dips in the past with Bitcoin and the miners especially as well when that does happen. So you're not going to get a straight shot across to the new all-time highs here. Let me go back up to Bitcoin here. But I'll kind of point this out to you guys as well. Not that one, this one. Screen. There we go. Okay, so let's go to Bitcoin here. Let's go on, we're on the weekly here. Here's the previous cycle here, right? Previous halving cycle that we were in. We had a nice little rally, then we dipped, right? I don't know how much that dip was there. We could possibly calculate it, but we had a dip there. This was definitely a ways out, and we dipped about 20% or so, somewhere around there, 15 to 20%, right? We had a rally, we had a dip on the weekly. Went up, down. We went up for several weeks, then we had a pullback again, right? We went up, pullback. So this is going to happen from time to time. And it's there to scare you out of your positions, basically. And it's also to make it a healthy run as well, right? You can't have everything running up for straight 18 months. That would be insane. So we saw that cycle here, which was in after the 2020 halving. The 2016 halving was here. Let me see if we can maybe zoom in on that one. Get a better chart data on it. Bingo. Okay, so there's the halving in 2016. We went up, we went down, right? Up, down, up. We had a pullback, and then we went up to the all-new high as well. So that's going to happen this time as well. Maybe we won't get some of these big dips that we saw here before, where we went up from the top here to the bottom, which was like 40%, right? That's pretty scary. If you have 40% on a dip, a lot of people are going to be panicking, and they're going to be selling out at that point when you still have, even if you went from there, and if you held on to it, you still had a run up of approximately, in 2016 cycle, in 2017, you were up 574% at that point. So there's still huge potential to run up on it. So don't be scared out of those. I know that they're kind of frightening, but you got to be mindful of that. Maybe sell a portion of your position, right? And maybe get in a little bit lower at that point as well if you can. Right, if you day trade or something like that. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I know where my price targets are more or less. I don't know. We'll see if we can get there. But yeah, the path to the all-time highs is a bumpy one. It's not an easy one. Okay. Will IREN get to the $20 before the next pullback? Probably not. We need a pullback. Thanks a lot, Seth, for your streams. Really keeps me grounded and patient. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks for coming in. Kramer even said today that stocks go up to sell off. Yeah, I mean, you need kind of a little bit of pressure relief there. You can't have them going up all the time. Hey, so what's your thoughts on Riot having a massive course kind of facility and using that for AI training inference like CORZ? If you watch the interview with Bryce McNally and Anthony Power, they did with Jason there, Jason has said that they are not looking to get into AI anytime soon. Their facilities are also not built to be for AI right now, at least. Right. So, I mean, they're huge facilities and they're built for immersion cooling. I mean, you could probably, maybe, you might be able to use immersion cooling for that as well, maybe. But it's a different immersion cooling. It's not a lot of people use that type. Phase 1 immersion cooling instead of phase 2, maybe. Let's see. Hive has 19x less cycle from $1.35 last having price to 26 at the peak. Do you think it will be the same? If no, why? Thanks. Hive went down a lot lower than that. Hive was down to like 38 cents or something like that. I think this is, they had a reverse split also here recently, not too long ago. So I think that's being counted here. But they went way down in price. And they were also mining Ethereum at that point, which was generating a lot of revenue for them, which they don't have that this cycle. It was a huge cost for them to lose that. So that's the reason why. Let's see. These miners use lots of energy in the summer with the heat, which uses more power using the AC to cool them off. They don't use AC to cool them off. They use regular ambient air to blow through these machines. They have basically hot aisles and cold aisles. The cold aisles are the air outside, and you're pushing the hot into the hot aisle that gets pumped back out into the outside air. But they don't use AC. AC would be too expensive to do that. It would not make any sense for them right now. Ed, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see, what happens to CORZ last night? I'm not sure. Let's see here. For Marathon to 5x, their market cap will be 30 billion. For IREN 5x, their market cap is 10 billion. Does Marathon deserve that big of a price premium by end of year? The HODL also helps there, but IREN I think is going to go more than just the 5x here, which would get him closer to. Let me see, 5x. Yeah, I don't know. Depending where we go to, but I think IREN's going to do better than that because they are lower valued right now than Marathon is on that stuff, but they don't have a HODL. So I think the HODL position helps hugely to Marathon as well. Take out the HODL position and then you will see where the market cap would be for the company on that. Based it on that, that's the way I would do it. IREN is on its way to the moon. Bitfarms has started to take off. Is Cleanspark next? Potentially, we need to have good news from them that they have infrastructure or buy infrastructure to build out to the 32 exahash that they want to get to. Let's see. Bitfarms explosion price, would Riot somewhat follow suit? Could Riot be undervalued if Bitfarms runs up? Potentially, depending where Bitfarms goes. I mean, the Riot's pretty well valued right now, but they just got to get their infrastructure up and running and built out and improve their uptime much more. Let's see. Can Trump internationalize Bitcoin? Here's what crypto pros say. I don't think so. We can nationalize it. Nobody wants that anyways, I don't think. Bitcoin is supposed to be independent of governments and everything else. Let's see. If you don't mind sharing, how old were you when you started investing in general? Do you make mistakes and lost lots of money at the beginning? I mean, mistakes at the beginning. I am not. I'm now even. Yeah. Oh, geez. I got into investing not as heavily as I am now, but I got into it when I was like in my mid 20s, late 20s. I invested like $10,000 into these penny stocks at that point. Boy, did I learn from those. We'll not get into those again. I got into another company that was like a pharmaceutical that was promising all these great things. Learned on that one too. Lost about 8,000. So yeah, overall, probably lost maybe 20, 25,000 and all over that before I started to do much better. And at a certain point, I stopped investing because that was just not working out for me. So I concentrated on getting my education, things like that, put my money into that. I've learned a lot from that. That has transpired into me managing a Bitcoin mining farm here in 2017 through 2022, learning a lot from that, learning what's important in those operations, and then taking that lessons learned there and taking it to the miners here that I'm tracking for you guys. So I am up. I've made up more than what I've lost in the past. So a lot of the stuff that we do, unfortunately, is lessons learned, and you learn from your own mistakes. So yeah, I'm with you. I learned a lot. See. It was mentioned at the Mike Alfred call that this might be the last cycle. Their reasoning seemed solid as we are reaching institutional adoption and government regulation and ETFs. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. I don't know if it's going to be our last cycle, but I think it's going to be maybe an extended cycle that might take us from Bitcoin being at where it's at right now to possibly $1 million in the next maybe 5 or 6 years, right? So it wouldn't be a bad thing, but it would definitely be a different ballpark with getting into the miners and having these huge swings in it where we can play that, bear market and bull cycle again. So we'll see. See, the reason I invest in Bitfarms is I believe in you, Seb. Thanks for the updates. You're welcome. Don't just believe in me, right? I'm just a guy here on YouTube. Please always do your own research as well on this stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I provide you guys is easily available to you guys to find out and run some numbers on your own. But I mean, you can see it here. It's just right. Never follow me blindly. Let's see. Catching up to you guys' questions here. Let's see. Hi, Sebastian. For the HPC availability question, I meant how do we know which company is targeting higher availability data centers and which companies are not? Right now, I believe Cypher and TeraWolf, I believe, are the ones that are trying to build out small megawatts of like tier 3 data centers. I think Hut 8 is also getting into that. Hut 8, I believe, has tier 3 data centers in Canada right now that they bought with Jimmy Leverton at the helm. Who else is getting into it? CORZ is now getting into it because they have a contract with CoreWeave. But other than that, I don't know who else is getting into it to that degree as far as building out an actual tier 3 data center. Para, I talked about this earlier. Hey, Seb, I hope all is well. Mike Alfred mentioned Cleanspark was bidding for Bitfarms. Have you heard anything? Is Cleanspark still in play as Bitfarms shareholder? I'd love Cleanspark to run the show. I mean, depending what the offer is, right? If they offer only $3.50 or something like that, I would tell Cleanspark to take a hike at that point. I still want Bitfarms to be on their own because I do own a lot of shares in Cleanspark and I also own a lot of shares in Bitfarms, but for me, it doesn't make any sense for them to buy them out. Why overpay for something when you can build it out yourself, unless you can't find infrastructure? But yeah, I heard that Mike mentioned that. He also mentioned that he doesn't know exactly where that play is at right now on it. He doesn't have any insight into that. I don't think he could even share it because right now it's under an NDA, I believe, between the companies. So who knows? Maybe there is some jockeying there. Maybe Cleanspark will come out that they have 10% stake in Bitfarms. Who knows? Yeah, it's definitely getting interesting, but I hope honestly, I just don't see why any company would want to get them. I get the diversification in the other jurisdictions, but you're way overpaying for what you could build out yourself. But I guess you're paying for that premium there with the knowledge and the know-how in those jurisdictions. So maybe that makes sense there. And yeah, oh my God, same mistake. So yeah, we've done the same thing. You learn from those things. I think maybe we're watching the same people at that point. Shill those things. Miners are more secure than altcoins. I believe so. Let's see. What is the trend of Cleanspark? It seems like that it has broken through the convergence triangle of stock price. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really pay attention to day to day otherwise, unless I'm looking to buy more, right? If it goes down, I'm going to be a buyer. But my price average on CleanSpark is like $3 something. So right now I'm sitting happily where I'm at. Let's see. I saw a poll that Mike Alford was second to Trump in presidential support. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen that poll. I know that Mike is very bullish on anything Bitcoin, so that might be the reason why. Let's see. Do you think Bitcoin will cause IREN to sell off now? Been running too long with new investors. Possibly. I mean, IREN just went way up, way fast, way quick, I guess you could say. So I think a little pullback would be healthy for it, just like anything else. You can't have everything running up for a long time and then I have a pullback. All right, guys, we're going on here for basically an hour and a half here. I need to catch some sleep also. So we're going to call it a day here. And I've cut up to all you guys' questions here. Hopefully my voice gets better as the days go on here. Otherwise, I'm going to start learning sign language, and you guys better learn sign language as well. But let's see here. Where am I going to go here? I want to go here. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll run some other metrics on the miners as well for operations on May, and we'll look at some institutions as well. How are the institutions buying them in the past month? We'll look at some other things that might pop up as well. Okay, but that is it. I wish you guys a great night. Thank you so much for coming in here. Love talking to you guys. You guys always have great questions. So keep them coming in the live streams ahead, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So have a great night.